This is a podcast where we get to celebrate women who are in different spheres and making major influence in different industries. So join me today as I unpack and we have a conversation with one of the greatest leaders, Faith Mneno. I am your host, Mutondi R. So Faith, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you.
And I hope we're going to have a great conversation. And judging from what we have already spoken about, I'm really excited about what we're going to share with everyone. So can you please just share a bit of a background about yourself? Would appreciate every detail of the journey.
Every detail is a lot. Let's see how far we can go.
Yeah.
Greetings, everyone, and thank you so much for having me. I appreciate being on this platform, and I look forward to the conversations we're going to have. Just a bit of a background. So, home is in the Eastern Cape. Studied in Cape Town, Durban, Joburg, and I ended up in the banking industry. And I guess the hallmark of my experience has always been in banking, more specifically, even though my background is finance, but more specifically, I've been in strategy strategy design, and strategy implementation. And I mean, those are two important key parts, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
So I've been in strategy design implementation. I guess this is something that meets my passion and my skill. Alongside that, I've got a great entrepreneurial flair. So I've done a couple of businesses. I also do coaching from a business perspective. So it's just a mixture of things here and there. And maybe just finally, I also do coaching. I think the key part for me is how do we help people become what they envision and what they've dreamed about.
Wow.
So maybe just, background.
Oh, okay. No, thank you so much for that. So you've told us like really heavy stuff. Guys, Faith is very educated. If you go on her LinkedIn profile, you'll see the MBA, right? And that's when, the coaching comes into play. So really, she has so much value that she can add, in people's lives. And I like her heart over and above everything because she's always willing to assist people. So Faith, as you have been, evolving in this journey, right? I don't believe that leaders are born, right? They're made.
Got it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So what is that experience that ignited the leadership spirit in you, and what made you feel like you want to lead and also influence people?
I love that question. So the truth is that we have got many problems, and in addition to that, we've got many there's many changes that are constantly happening. And I think for me, the leadership journey started to say, what can you contribute to making things better? It's one thing to be able to point out the problems. It's one thing to actually even contribute to the problems, but it's another to actually raise your hand and say, with what I have on my plate, how can I contribute, to making things better? So I think for me, it started with that. In the Bible, it actually also says, to he who much is given, much is required.
Yeah.
And for the skills that we have, and the little insights that we have on different things, we've got the responsibility to step up. So I think for me, my leadership journey started from a while back, and I think it's a gift that we all received, a gift to be able to step up. It has continuously evolved and grown and strengthened. The more you exercise it, because when you do something, you become better as you go along.
Yeah, it's like the muscle thing.
Absolutely.
The more you go to the gym, the more it grows.
That's it.
Right.
That's right.
So when did it start? What was your first leadership role or experience where you felt like, okay, here I need to take charge?
Okay. The interesting thing about leadership is that it's not a role.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about leadership is that it's when you step up and make the impact where you can. The role is something that happens much later.
Yeah.
So I think it's been a journey of discovering this ability from long where you don't. In fact, one of the biggest challenges we have is people who receive the role before they've strengthened the muscle. Because for me, leadership is not much. So I think I'm just trying to say, I can't point to a certain role or a certain time. I just think It's something that I've grown up with as I've observed my parents, the society that I've been in, the people that have brought me up.
Okay.
I've observed and learned what it is to step up and make an impact in the area you're in. And then when we get into roles, when we get into corporate, then it starts getting more airtime or rather more space. But it's something that you've been building over time and leading up to that. I mean, it's a muscle that continues to grow.
Yes.
I've only experienced leadership for the past couple of years in my corporate career, but I mean, there's a long way to go.
Yes,
there's a long
definitely.
Way to, something that's still growing, and we discover and develop as we go along.
Oh, okay. So your parents were big influencers in leadership, right?
Absolutely.
And I always believe that leadership starts with self. If you cannot lead yourself, you will not be able to lead others. You know, and more importantly, leadership is servanthood, right? So what are those things that you feel are the pillars of your leadership? What is your leadership style? What are how do you lead?
Yeah.
If I can put it like that.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
So people lead for different reasons. And you can note the difference in the outcomes of that leadership. So people go to leadership positions to build their brand. They go to leadership positions to cause a certain direction that they think is beneficial for them.
Yeah.
I think for me, at the bottom of it all and fundamental to everything is, how can I have a meaningful impact in the areas that I'm in? And mark those two words, meaningful impact.
Yeah.
Because, and I mean, we can see in business these days, the impact we're chasing after is a profit impact at the end of the day. We're not trying to be nice to anyone. We're just trying to make profit.
Yeah.
And I think for me, under all of that, yes, let's make profit, but let's also have a positive contribution in people's lives. So I think for me, what underlies my journey in leadership is saying, Faith, does this make an impact, and this impact, is it meaningful in the context of what you're dealing with at that time? So that you don't get into leadership to drive your own personal agenda. Yes, let's drive our agendas, but at the end of the day, it has to be bigger than you. It has to be. It has to go beyond your personal pursuits and desires. So I think for me, underlying everything is, how can I make a meaningful impact in the different places where I'm in.
Oh, I like that. And as you were talking about meaningful impact, I'm just thinking that leadership is not always good. There are people who lead other people astray, right?
Absolutely.
So having that meaningful impact in people's lives, I think that's what we really mean, and what we want to encourage everyone to do. When we speak leadership,
we have to build towards that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to find people pulling towards different directions, and then we sit and complain that, oh, Africa is not progressing, oh, our economy is not progressing. It's because we are chasing personal pursuits, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it needs to add to the puzzle. We are all different pieces of the puzzle, and unless we're able to consider the fact that this is bigger, this puzzle picture is bigger than your corner, and that's what will lead us to a very fast and impactful change.
Oh, yeah. No, that's really beautiful. You said something earlier that I just want to pick up on. So, Faith, when it comes to leading in these corporate spaces, you did say that you've taken up various roles in leadership, right? So, what were the challenges that you came across as a woman who is in leadership in those various spaces that you're leading in?
That's a broad question, but quite important. The challenges, let me first start with internal challenges.
Yeah.
Because sometimes before we battle with the world, we battle with ourselves.
Yeah.
And if we aren't able to win those internal battles, then it almost disqualifies us to even try fighting with the world. So I think the first internal battle was, am I enough?
Wow. Yeah.
The first internal battle was, do I have what it takes to make a meaningful impact? Because many times you find in corporates there's already you are joining a certain existing vision.
Yes.
You are joining an existing motion. And the question becomes, are you able to create value that is meaningful to business and meaningful to you?
Wow.
Because many times what makes it difficult for us to keep going is because we haven't connected our purpose to the business, to the vision of the business. So I think for me the first bigger battle was to say, Faith, do you have what it takes?
Mm.
And number 2, what you are passionate about, is it aligned to what you are doing?
Wow. Yeah.
Because it takes more than skill to make it in corporate. It takes skill and heart. It takes skill, because that's what builds the grit. That's what builds the resilience.
Yes.
So I think for me, the first key challenge I had was an internal challenge that says, do you have what it takes?
Yeah.
And if you do, are you able to express it in a way that is meaningful to the agenda of the business?
Yeah.
When you finalize that internal debate again, and I mean, it's something that goes on every day.
It does.
Discovery
And I wanted to ask, before you continue,
Sure.
How did you overcome that? Do you feel like you're enough now? How did you counter that?
I'll say a very contradictory statement.
Yeah.
The world will never think you are enough. Whether you are enough or not is your decision.
Wow.
It's not something that it's not something that we consult about.
Yeah.
It's something that we internally discover.
Yeah, that's so powerful.
So I think for me, I'm in a journey of discovering it. And I said that statement because the world can have a different opinion.
100%.
The world can have a different narrative. Are you enough, Faith? I don't think so, because ABC.
Yeah.
But if internally you are also in doubt, then you've got a bigger problem.
Yeah.
So I think for me, I've gotten to a place where I've understood what my skill is, I've understood what my passion is, and I've understood how to deliver and communicate this in a way that is meaningful to business, and that makes me enough.
Oh, 100%. I like it. I like it because a lot of times we wait for people to validate us and whatever that we're doing.
Yeah.
So for instance, you will measure your level of impact by
Based
the
on
number
what
of
they
likes, compliments, and all those things.
That.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's great
when people, but it can't be your petrol.
Yeah.
It can't be your engine. You have to move.
So I like it.
The first battle I had to deal with was an internal battle.
Yeah.
And once I've dealt that battle, then there's a people management thing. So I'm a strategist.
Yeah.
So what I do is that I sit and I say, okay, guys, this is the strategy. And because I'm a strategist, I detail the strategy, but someone else implements it.
Okay, yeah.
And unless people implement my strategy, then what's the point?
Yeah.
So I think one of the biggest skills that I've learned is a skill to manage, not only to manage, to integrate properly with people. The skill to influence people. The skill to drive a certain direction.
Yeah.
So I think one of the difficulties I had, besides the internal one, is to say, okay, how do I birth something and contribute all of us?
Yeah.
So the key battle was to say, number 1, how do I overcome the internal battles? Number 2, how do I learn how to convince my strategy implementation partners?
Yeah.
Because unless I work properly with them, then it makes no sense. My work makes no sense. So I think those are the 2 biggest challenges I've had to deal with. And it's a work in progress.
Yeah. So that's, I like it. So you're saying your leadership, journey or strategy is buy-in. You need to get buy-in from whoever is going to implement your strategy.
And the problem is that not everyone is your direct report. You can instruct direct reports.
Yeah.
You can say, do this, do that.
Yeah.
But generally, in strategy design implementation, it's an organization-wide thing.
Yes.
So you've got indirect reports. And in that case, you have to argue space in their diaries, argue space in their time, argue space in their effort. So I think one of the biggest battles was to learn the art of convincing people towards a certain purpose.
Okay. And while we are there at convincing people, what are the techniques that you will use to convince them?
I love that question. First, you have to connect.
Okay.
Don't let work be the only and key thing that you are interested in with the person.
Okay.
I think I've learned that if you buy heart first, it's an easier way to get output fast.
Yeah.
By heart first, connect with people, because before we are leaders, we are people.
That's true.
I think for me in strategy implementation, I've learned that first, just get to know people, just connect with people. Don't be a person that keeps handing out instructions.
Yeah.
Pause and check how are you. And I promise you, even though that how are you is not connected to the project, it speeds the project up very quickly. So I think
Wow.
one of the biggest things I've learned.
Can you just repeat that?
Even though asking for your wellness
Yeah.
does not contribute to the bottom to the project itself,
Yeah.
but it speeds it up.
It speeds it up.
It gives you, because it gives you confirmation that
Yeah.
I've got your interest at heart.
Yes.
And we are together. It's not me sending you around, but it's us
Yeah.
partnering
Yeah.
to achieve a certain outcome.
So the energy that drives that would be from the inside.
Absolutely. We can't
Wow,
instruct
Faith.
away. We
Yeah.
can't dish out instructions.
Yeah.
We partner.
Yeah, because things that come from an external point of view, to get it working, you need to exert so much energy.
Absolutely.
I really like that. And you said something earlier, about you need to know how you fit into the vision
Absolutely.
of the business that you work for. Is this the advice that you would give someone who's looking for a job out there to say, in our country we have very high unemployment rates. So can someone firstly look at what this business is doing and how does that match to what I want to do in future, right? While also trying to balance putting food on the table.
Okay.
What comes first?
Yeah, that's a strategic question.
Yeah.
So, 2 parts. Number 1, you have to own your career. When I say own your career, you need to direct. You need to make sure that there's an alignment.
Yeah.
Because all corporate needs, all jobs need, they need you to just deliver that task.
Yes.
But you will be with yourself all of your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even after this job, you'll
Yeah.
still be with yourself. And
Yeah.
the question becomes, do all these, let's call it pieces or parts or jobs, contribute towards your overall story? So that's how I'm saying you have to own your journey. For my journey personally, I need to make a meaningful impact.
Yeah.
That means whenever I look for jobs, they need to be contributing to my overall story. As opposed to me going in, get a purpose job,
Yeah.
just doing what's in it has to contribute. So I'm just trying to say you have to own and direct your journey. And that helps you decide the directions you take. That helps you decide the deals you go into, because the question becomes, does it contribute? You are bigger than your job, or you are bigger than that role you are in. You are going to be there after that role, and the question becomes, has that role contributed to your bigger story, or kanye it's disconnected things that you are doing here and there? So the other interesting thing you asked, I actually liked your question. It says, which one comes first, the balance between putting food on the table and pursuing your purpose and following the vision of a company? Which one goes first, and which one must you prioritize first?
Yeah.
I think you have to find a way of playing those 3 balls at the same time. Because the truth is that I can't not take a job because it's not what I like when there's no other job. I have to put food on the table. So I think, and in that case, do you know that there is an expression of your passion everywhere? Or rather, there's an opportunity to express your passion
powerful,
everywhere. I might be a strategist. It doesn't mean I have to be in banking.
Yeah.
If I find myself in municipality, I have to discover how to express my passion in that context.
Yes.
So I'm just trying to say, you can't shy things away because you're saying it's not what it looks like.
Yeah.
I'd rather encourage you to say, in the scarcity of opportunities, take what you have and find purpose in it.
Yeah.
It's not all the time where you're going to be handed something that ticks the box immediately.
Yes.
Many times you go in and create purpose and find purpose in it. So that's what I'm saying. It's playing the 3 balls.
Yeah.
Yes, you have to take the job to put food on the table, but you must find purpose in it as well. You can't say no because it's not this and that.
Yeah. I like where you're going with this, because then if you find purpose in whatever that you're doing, I mean, the Bible does say, whatever your hands find to do it with all your might. So if you are doing whatever, wherever you find yourself, it will be meaningful. It will be meaningful. You will be fulfilled. So there's no point in you complaining about, I'm not getting these opportunities. I'm only getting this. And while you were saying that, I remember a story, a beautiful story that I I watched on one video this other lady who is from the Eastern Cape. She went to Cape Town and she was studying law, right? And then she finished a law degree, and then there were no jobs. But then, on the other hand, she had a handicapped child, so a child with special needs.
Sure.
So, and those who know, like those kids, I mean, financially, you need a lot, you know. Yeah. So then she had a conversation with herself to say, am I gonna wait for this
or
for this lawyer job, or am I gonna do other things?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, and all she did was she went on Facebook, and then she found a group of domestic workers, and then she went on there when people were looking for domestic workers, then she went and applied. And she landed up with this beautiful family, and she started working there with passion, and without the people didn't even know that she's a lawyer or she has a law degree.
Yeah, that's a very good example of someone who owned her journey.
Yeah,
as opposed to being an outcome of circumstance.
Exactly.
I'm just an outcome of this and that happens, therefore I'm like this.
Yes.
She owned
a victim mentality, which a lot of people have. And the beautiful part of this story is when she gets to this family, she finds out that they have a handicapped child.
Oh,
right?
Okay,
so now, like, she's using her experience with her handicapped child to assist the child, right? And throughout that, you know, if you work in the urban areas, the opportunities are different and all that, right? So there were things that she would be required to do as a domestic worker to assist the handicapped child, to take the child around, to go and apply for certain grants, and, you know, and all those things. And that's when, you know, everything, you know, she got to know about a lot of information on how she can help her child back at home. Right? So there was this program that she was trying, you know, to get this employer's child on, and she got to know every step of that program.
Do that for her
and
child
she
as well.
did it for her child. And somewhere along the line, when she was having conversations as the friends, the family friends of her employer would come, then she discovered that another person has a law firm.
Oh, okay.
And then fast forward, she is a lawyer. She has her own car. She can provide for her child. Her child is also in that program where she's able to get all these benefits. So that for me was a very powerful story that links back to what you're saying, you know, wherever you find yourself, you know, just do it with all your might, and you can still live out your purpose in whatever environment you find yourself.
That's it.
Wow, Faith.
There's one important part I want to highlight in the story you're mentioning around. She learned. She allowed her an opportunity. I'm talking about the lady you're talking about. She allowed herself to learn from this child and be able to deliver to that child. Learn from that child and deliver to this. And I think this brings a very important point in leadership. The concept of deliberate and consistent personal development. That becomes very important as a leader. Now when we were younger, they sent us to school. Now we are old. No one is going to send you to school.
Yes.
But your decision to be deliberate and consistent in your personal development is what sharpens your ability to lead.
Yes.
Is what sharpens your ability to make meaningful impact. I think one of the important things that I saw is that we can get very busy in many things. And because personal development is not on your scorecard somewhere, you can easily abandon it.
Yes.
Because we are busy with a lot. There's a lot that we're running around for. But can I tell you that your commitment to your personal development is literally the fertilizer to your speed of growth. It's literally the fertilizer. And unfortunately, no one is marking you against that. You have to be consistent and deliberate and mark yourself against it.
Okay.
Last point on this one, I could go forever. Last point.
It's not the last point because I want to ask something after this. So,
I always talk about there are certain things that are important and certain things that are urgent.
Okay.
And when you are managing your to-do list and managing your what you are spending your life and your time on, there's constantly things that are urgent. Must quickly do this, must quickly do this. And we are running around on urgent things. Unfortunately, those urgent things are not always the most important things. And we end up neglecting the important things because we are dealing with the urgent things.
Yeah.
And I always say you have to sit back and insist that let the cups that need to break. Let the urgent things that need to be abandoned be abandoned.
Yeah.
So that you can pay good attention to the important things. Let me make a typical example. This case of studying. It's very important. Is it urgent? It's not urgent. I'll apply next day. I'll apply next day. To your point, you were saying you kept pushing away. Even record even started this.
Yes.
Because you'll keep doing it. Because there's many other things that come as urgent.
Yes, urgent. Yeah.
And urgent is simple things like you're going to there's something at home, or there's something. Or there's a lot of things that keep calling for our attention.
Yeah.
And if you aren't careful, you're going to spend your life dealing with urgent and unimportant things and ignore and neglect important things.
Yeah, that's too powerful. Okay. Wow, Faith. I feel like we are being schooled, So I just wanted us to unpack the urgent and important things. Okay. How does one assess? Because there's a lot that's going on in the world. So how can one assess?
That's a very good question. So I think it always boils down to your purpose. The fundamental parts or fundamental things that contribute to your purpose must be set and prioritized as important.
Okay.
And then the other things that livelihood, I would call it that.
Yeah.
Lifestyle, all of those things.
Yeah.
They're important,
but
they can never come at the gross expense of the key pillars of your purpose.
Yeah.
I was making an example earlier to say, so for example, my purpose is almost 3 pounds. And something I'm discovering. I'm discovering my purpose as we go along.
Yeah.
It's almost 3 pounds. So number one is my contribution to the marketplace. I act as a strategist. It's a contribution to the body of Christ. I'm a pastor, by the way, FYI.
Yes. Mom food.
So I'm a pastor. So my contribution to the body of Christ is a very key pillar to my purpose. And then number 3, in fact, maybe primarily is my service to my family. Right. So for me to decide what's important and what's urgent, I need to assess where does it sit across those 3 pillars, and what form and shape is it taking.
Yeah.
If it's a social gathering and it's coming at a conflict to my contribution to the marketplace, then I need to question it. Yeah. If it's a social gathering coming at a gross expense to my family, then I need to question it. So I'm just trying to say, the assessment comes from a place of you measure it against purpose.
Yeah.
You have to measure it against purpose. Otherwise, if you don't, other people are driving their purpose through you.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Other people are driving their purpose through you, and you are neglecting yours because theirs is urgent. So I think for me, the key important part, how to measure between important and urgent, your purpose is the measuring rod.
Oh, wow, that's powerful. So you are saying that, okay, firstly, you need to know your purpose.
You need to discover it.
Yeah, you need to discover your purpose. And then in your life, there are 3 sort of like filters that you will filter everything through. Okay? Absolutely. And if it doesn't fall in these 3 things, it can't be
a gross cost
to them. Okay. So now let's put a twist on it.
Sure.
If it's one of these 3 things, or 2 of these 3 things that are now conflicting, how do you then?
I see where you're going.
Yeah.
So there are heroes in each season. I don't know if I'm explaining it.
Yeah.
Even though my purpose is 3 pounds, there's a certain hero in a certain season. For example, I'm not married and I don't have children. So clearly, my family. When I say family, I mean direct family, my husband and kids. But clearly, my family focus is not the hero in this season.
Okay.
So, and there's corporate and there's church. Okay. At this point, remember I was saying I'm on sabbatical, so clearly, so the hero right now is my contribution towards the marketplace. So I'm just trying to say, you have to understand that the certain season, if I get married, when I get married, when I get married, clearly there's going to be certain compromises we're going to have to make, because in that season, this is the hero. I'm not neglecting work. I'm not neglecting church. I'm just saying the hero for the season is family. So the principle of honoring the season you are in is very important in terms of how to prioritize things. For example, even corporate knows that when you get a child, corporate needs to step back and you must go and attend to your family. Yeah. That's why you've got what we call maternity leave. It's a principle of honoring seasons and honoring the components of your purpose based on the season you are in. Yeah. So when this pillar and this pillar and this pillar are fighting, when I'm not quite fighting, but when there's a battle of time and effort, then I need to honor what season am I in now. You can't be worrying about whether the balances are making, whether the financials are balancing up during your maternity leave. You must honor the fact that in this period, the season is for me to pay attention to this part of my purpose.
Oh, wow. That's really powerful. And I'm also gonna take a page out of this book because wow, you explained it so well, and it will really help us, because as you are in corporate, like you said, there's always things that are urgent. I need this urgently. And before you know it, all you've been doing is chasing, and you have not built what you would love to build. Yeah, so I hope you are learning as much as I am to prioritize our purpose over everything, because that's what really matters. And when the books are closed and everything is done and your time in this world is over, purpose is what will matter. Wow, I love that. I love that, Faith. Okay, so you did touch on personal development.
Yes.
Right? So what are the things that you do in order to develop yourself?
Let me start with an awkward one that people always get shocked at. I don't watch TV. I don't watch TV.
Hopefully I would. Oh, okay. We're in the same league.
Group.
Same group.
Okay,
yeah.
I don't even have one. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like it. And I'm not saying people must not have a TV anyway.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that I personally, I find that it takes up a lot of my time and effort and mental space.
Yeah.
And I mean, we are all different. So for me, I decided to say, Faith, let's try and limit the amount of time we spend on television, and let's see what else to swap that with.
Yeah.
Right? That's the first part. Second important part is reading. I was actually talking to my mentor one of these days, and he's talking about how just download an app, and as you are driving to work in traffic, listen to the news, because it's very unsafe for us to read the world through social media.
Yeah, it's unsafe.
It's very unsafe for us to read. So I think for me, one of the key parts is, number one, be careful with how you spend your time, and in my case, it's just limiting TV. In fact, sometimes even social media. Social media is great. I just do think that it just takes up a lot of our time. So I think for me, it's just defending how I spend my time. Number two is being very cognizant of what I take in. So reading, get the right newspapers, get the right, subscribe to the right podcasts. What you take in becomes very important, because it defines what you are thinking about and your mental space. So I think for me, one is paying attention to what I'm spending my time on. Two is watching my intake and be very deliberate. Around where do you take it. I read a lot as well.
Oh wow!
Books, so I do a lot of reading. I think for me, those are key parts. And then from time to time, you take a short course here and there. Around deliberation.
Can I put you on the spot?
Which no. Go for it.
Which book is like the ultimate best book that you've ever read that you'd recommend?
So it wouldn't be ultimate and best book. Okay. I think it would be servicing a certain need at a certain time or a certain season.
Okay.
That book, How to Make Friends and Influence People.
Okay.
Very important because it teaches you how to connect with other people so that purpose is delivered. So I think for me, and I mean, you might find that the other interesting book I'd read was The First 90 Days. It talks about when you're starting something new, how to structure the first 90 days. And so I'm saying, I can't measure one against the other. I can just say, based on the season I'm in at the time, this one was spot on. So I think how to make friends and influence people is what I'm working on now, because there's a lot of new things that I'm getting. So it's important for me to connect.
Oh, okay. No, that's really great. And you mentioned that you do mentor and also coaching, right? What does that look like? How do you define that mentoring and coaching? What is your strategy around that?
That's an important one. So the mentoring goes according to who you are mentoring. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
The pace, the level, the pattern is defined by the relationship itself. For example, there's certain people who will just come, they want to talk business, they want you to advise them on a certain business proposal, full stop. And there's certain people that want to walk the journey of life with you. And obviously the pattern you take, or rather the approach you take, is going to be absolutely different. So it's custom made based on the level that, the exposure that people want to bring. If you want to bring your business, and that's all we're talking about, happy with that, let's go for it, let's talk to business. And I guess in that case we've got bi-weekly meetings. In that case it's very structured and formal, right? And there's people who are saying, Faith, I'm really trying to discover myself. That's a life journey.
Exactly.
That's like walking with someone. So I'm just trying to say, there's no set program. It always it's always determined by the person.
It's driven by
what's
that.
Important though, let me make a point on this one. What's important becomes the level of vulnerability that the mentee is willing to give. The more you hide, the less effective I can be in your journey.
Yeah.
But, and I mean, there's this thing now about I'm a strong woman.
Oh, no. We're way past. I know that train left us ship.
Because unless you are truthful and vulnerable and open, then we can't work. Otherwise we're going to deal with the surface of who you really are.
Oh wow, that's really powerful. So now in your leadership journey as a woman, right, in these spaces, in the marketplace, do you feel or do you think that gender matters? Have you been treated differently because you are a woman as opposed to your male counterparts? What are those experiences that you've come across and challenges in?
Let me give two parts. Part one is that it goes with fact. That from a numbers perspective, there's a big difference between so we could be doing the same. Let's say I'm a male. We're doing the exact same job. In the exact same company. With the exact same duration. Our salaries are different because you're a male. So before I answer the full question, the first part is that numerically, statistically, we have seen that there's a huge gap in terms of the earning. Not even also earning, even the pace of progression. Unfortunately, that's how it is. So that's the one part. Then the second part becomes the behavioral things every day, right? The behavioral things every day. Unfortunately, there still is a perception that if I'm in a meeting, I feel like women work harder than men to get their attention. Truth. Work harder to get you have to take a couple of steps for people to start following. But with the guy, he's simple steps. The guys will go this direction and we'll just so I think the truth and the reality is that from a numbers perspective, there's a big difference. From an ease of impact perspective, there's a big difference. But that doesn't mean we must sit. Unfortunately, we have to jump twice as high, but we will. Let's do what we have to do whilst we are trying to change, obviously, this culture. We can't sit back and wait until it's finalized because that's going to take a while. Whilst we're trying to change what's happening, but we can't sit back. If it means I must work double, let's go for it.
Let's go for it
because I've got a purpose to deliver. So I think it's a balance. It's a balance between the system we're in is not as equal as we're hoping it to be. But we're not going to sit and wait for it. We have to, because we've got purpose to deliver. It's a balance between those two.
Between those two. So who are we directing this thing to? Like, if we say we want to be equal, who's supposed to,
all of us.
All
of us. I feel like men need to start being involved in women empowerment discussions.
Men, are you listening?
Because we are an ecosystem.
Yeah.
We are all working together. So if we say we've got a problem in the pond, and then you select a few and you go and discuss, I feel like all of us need to be part of making it better.
Yeah.
So who must be told this? Women must be told to step up.
Yeah.
Men must be told as well.
Yeah.
Let's not undermine because she's not your gender.
Yes.
At the same time, both genders must have the discussion. So let's not seclude a discussion that involves everyone. Because after secluding to have the discussion with yourselves, with ourselves, we need still to go back to the world.
Yeah.
And the world has got males and they were not part of our conversation. I think maybe that's why the progress becomes so slower.
And this is, a major challenge in every change that needs to happen. So there's always two sides.
There's always two sides.
The ones who are benefiting now and the ones who feel like we are being discriminated, which is the ladies, right?
Sure.
So, and I'm just thinking for myself, if I am sitting there, and I really don't have stress, and do I need to fight the same way that the women are fighting? Because, if you are saying you want to be equal to me, but I'm already where I want to be.
I hear you. And I guess that's why it can't be a battle that women are fighting.
Yeah.
We have to meet at a place of understanding that we all deserve space.
Exactly.
We have and the problem is that the same way men bring value, I also bring value. And if we need our companies and our businesses to progress, we're going to have to start regarding the value that is in the room, regardless of the gender that's in.
Yeah.
That helps everyone. It helps business. That business needs to, male leaders in business need to prioritize being able to expose the value that women carry regardless of what they do.
Yes.
Because it helps their business as well. So it's a battle that we all need to go to.
Yeah, no, definitely. And we also, as women, need to, I've heard a lot of complaints about women.
Sure.
That once you enter certain rooms, then you close the door for other women.
For others,
so it's like it's counterproductive.
Absolutely.
We are here saying that women empowerment, we need to, fight for this thing. But there's a certain woman with so much influence, with so much position, that they could change things at a faster rate, because when each of us is just doing it, their little thing there, the impact, is very minimal.
And I think that's how I was saying earlier, that you are part of a puzzle.
Yeah.
So don't only be comfortable with your coloring and your design. You must make sure that you must recognize that it's part of a bigger thing.
Yeah.
So even though you've progressed, but make sure that you still connect to the puzzle.
Yeah. No, I like that. And I think we need to now start thinking more about it and talking more about it.
Absolutely.
So that we can see the change, and also take up, different spaces.
Yes.
We always shy away from politics and, all those things. But that's where you might be able to make a bigger impact, So, well, I wanted us to continue about this gender thing because, there have been women, people have been screaming women empowerment, and then they interpret that as, give the woman a bigger position, right?
Okay.
And there's been, casualties, the women who really fail dismally.
Sure.
Why do you think that is?
So I wanna remove it from gender. When you didn't fail dismally because you're a woman, you failed dismally because you don't have the key behavioral disciplines that you're supposed to have. So I'm just trying to say, yes, I'm not saying we don't have a gender issue.
Yeah.
But I'm saying when it comes to performance, even if you're a male, if you don't do those disciplines, you're going to fail. Even if you're a woman, if you don't do those business, you're going to fail. So I'm just trying to say, the matter of doing well and the matter of making sure that you're delivering impact. Yes, there is a cover of gender on it, but underlying it, it's personal disciplines and behaviors that must be adjusted.
Okay.
And whilst we are saying, and I mean, both conversations what we had, whilst we are saying, yes, let's open more spaces for women, we are also saying women must also perform. Same way we are saying men must perform. So I'm just trying to say one doesn't come to cover the other. They all have to work together. And unfortunately, if the work ethic is not at the right level, it continues to perpetuate this women not getting opportunities. So both we must play both balls. Women must get opportunities, but also women must work in those opportunities.
Yeah. And they need to be prepared.
Absolutely.
Adequately
Personal development,
yes,
discipline, work ethic. Just because you're a woman doesn't mean we must forgive you when you don't do work.
Yeah. You're 100%. So we need to be accountable and responsible.
Absolutely.
Wow. So Faith, so I know we've been talking more about leadership, but as I've said, they are, casualties along the way.
Sure.
So looking back at your leadership journey or in life in general,
okay,
what has been your greatest failure?
Oh, that's an interesting one. Let me pick this one. My biggest failure, and I learned this recently. It's a recent failure.
Okay.
Is not prioritizing myself and prioritizing my output.
Okay.
I cannot feed from an empty cup.
Yeah.
I can't give you if I'm not well.
Yes.
And many times we prioritize progress and success and getting the next promotion. We prioritize that over your wellness. And forgetting that what makes you sharper in delivering at work is when inside you are well.
Yes.
And I think for me, one of the biggest failures was to chase progress, chase success, chase deadlines, I wanted to make sure that Ikareyam is going well.
Yes.
At the gross expense of my wellness. Until it got to a point where my output was weak because and the problem is that even when my output is weakening, I'm still putting all the energy and all the effort and I'm still trying hard and I'm still working till late. But because I am not well, I've prioritized success over wellness. It went and nullified even my output. So I think one of the important things. Can I say that please don't prioritize success over yourself?
Sure.
Don't prioritize progress over yourself because you give that progress.
It comes from you.
It comes from you. So you have to be well. You have to be that mental health and mental wellness, that internal stability.
Sure.
That's where the quality of your output comes from. So I think for me, I ignore that and die injured soldier.
So you are recovering or you've recovered?
I'm recovering.
Okay.
Then I became an injured soldier because I was chasing success at the gross expense of my life.
And the way you've put it, Faith, is when you chase success over your wellness, at the expense of your wellness, you end up losing both.
Absolutely. So I always, and I mean, this made me pause and think, Faith, what's important?
Yeah.
It made me pause and think. And I think I came to a place that says, number one, prioritize your wellness. Because you're going to live with yourself all of your life.
Yeah.
The job will come and go.
Yeah.
But you will be with yourself all of your life.
Yeah.
So be faithful to the one thing you'll have forever. That's you.
Yeah.
Number two, don't let success steal away family. Don't let success steal away family. Yeah. In fact, success is good family. Or rather, success.
Yeah.
An important pillar of success is having a healthy base.
Yes.
And many times we ignore those healthy bases because we are chasing what has been defined to be success. So I think for me, number one, I need to be well. Number two, I need to make sure that I prioritize my connections. Family, friends.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm not going to go out with you all every weekend because it's a veteran, but I need to make sure that I keep a healthy family. Number three, and I mean it by applied, your spirituality is important as well.
Yeah.
Other people talk about.
Yeah.
Other people are Christians, they pray. I'm just trying to say, wherever you gather your strength from, don't let this hype, your success, steal away the value and quality of life.
Sure. No, that's powerful. And yeah, so many times we really miss it. And it goes back to the point that you're saying that we get pressure from outside.
And yet
Now,
inside
you're empty and you keep getting pressed and pressed and pressed until you collapse.
Yeah.
You know, so wow, that's really powerful. And I think we need to reflect, especially as women, because there are so many dynamics, which brings us to the next, to the next point, to say, is there work-life balance? Does it exist? Have you achieved it? How did you achieve it? Because I've spoken to a couple of people and I'm still searching. I'm looking for it as well.
2 parts to it. Number 1, kuningi.
And it keeps getting kuningier, as they say.
As you go along. Kuningi.
Sure.
And it will forever be kuningi.
Yeah.
You won't have a time where you've got more time for family.
Yeah.
There will never be a chance where you've got more time for dondo.
Yeah.
There's always a lot happening.
Yeah.
There's always a lot happening. And that is why earlier I was saying, you choose what you spend time on.
Yeah.
You won't have time for family.
Yeah.
You make that time.
Oh, you make it.
In fact, you defend that time.
Sure.
Because other things are chasing for it. Other urgent things are, you're never going to have time to just go and study.
Oh, yeah.
You'll not have time to go and study, but you have to defend that time.
Yeah.
So I think the balance is that there's always going to be a lot happening. Remember the point I was making earlier to say, what's important is what strictly contributes to your purpose.
Yes.
Everything else
is leisure.
Everything else is leisure. And leisure is important, but leisure shouldn't come at the gross expense of the key parts.
Yeah.
So kuningi mnazekaya is a lot.
Yeah.
We are all juggling many balls.
We are juggling.
But maybe the other key part to mention is that also be kind on yourself.
Okay.
Forgive yourself for dropping some balls.
It's
okay. You'll pick it up. But make sure you don't drop the important ones. There are those that won't bounce back. That important and urgent thing. There are those they won't bounce back.
They're gone.
If they're gone, they're gone.
Yeah.
And if you're going to try and rebuild them, it takes 1,000 more effort to rebuild than you would have just fixed it in the first. So I think one, there's a lot happening. 2, don't try and be everything everywhere.
Yes.
Just know which balls I have to make sure that they don't fail. Number 3, just be kind to yourself. It's okay. Some of them are going to fall.
It's easy. It's easier said than done because
let me give you an example just to show. I'm not talking about something I don't know.
Yeah.
I was telling you I'm on sabbatical.
Yeah.
I was telling you I'm on sabbatical. I'm on sabbatical because I was so busy with everything and I lost my wellness.
Sure. Okay.
Wellness yako is something, if it cracks, it's very difficult to regather it. You don't want to get there. You don't get to a point where you say, I'm going to stop this because I'm going to gather. No. Allow yourself to fail at some, or rather to not have everything on par all the time.
Yeah.
But just make sure that the important parts are met.
What was the indicators that, showed you that you have lost your wellness?
My output was not at the strength that I'm used to.
Okay. Then you realize that I'm not well.
Yeah. Because your output, you know how you how you are. You know what you give.
Yeah.
And the problem is that you're going to constantly keep trying.
Yeah.
Just pause and check, is my core healthy? Because if my core is well, it has a big impact on what your outcome.
Yeah. And it lessens the effort because everything just flows from.
See now back.
Yeah, you're back. I can see.
And things flow easy.
Yeah.
It doesn't take as much because I'm well.
Wow. No, that's beautiful. So as women, right? You mentioned it's kuningi and all that, but right now you don't have kids. But as yet. Yeah, and that's another level of kuniki.
That's another phase that's gonna come, and when it comes, I need to forgive myself by reducing other things to focus on, because that's gonna be the hero in that time. And even then, when the kids are 2 years or whatever the age, the hero moves to something else. And I must accept help. And I think as women, we struggle to accept help because we feel like, I am a woman, I must do this and that. I'm saying balance it up, right? When you know that, okay, the focus now is on this area, how do you make sure that you get help also to balance up the other thing? It's a seasonal thing.
It's a seasonal thing. No, definitely. So do you believe that as women in leadership, we can have it all? Healthy family, healthy marriage, healthy kids, thriving career. You mentioned seasons. Yeah, but is it something that someone should aspire to say, or does one come at the cost of another?
It's a balance. Definitely we must aspire to it.
Okay.
So you must aspire to have this well. You have to aspire to it. You can't be like, I wait till I'll see that one. You have to aspire to build it. But at the same time, be gracious to yourself to understand that it might not be the case.
Oh, okay.
To your point around seasons, there are some times where this one is going to be doing well and the other one is not doing well. Are you not aspiring to get them right? You are.
Yeah.
But you're also kind and gracious to yourself to say, the truth is that I can't get all of them right at the same time. But aspiration definitely has to be there. But also with a level of balance that says, I'll forgive myself if it doesn't.
Yeah, that's powerful. Because, I mean, nowadays there's this spotlight on marriages, and they seem to be failing. Though other people say that the reason why we feel like there are a lot of failing marriages is because that you only get to hear about the crashed airplane and the other ones that are flying successfully every day. You don't hear about it.
But the truth is that, to be honest, there's a lot we are dealing with. And unless you, and unfortunately, things like marriage are not, the health of it is not really public. It's really what happens at home when no one is watching. But your excellence at work is everyone is watching that. So I'm just trying to say, sometimes we sacrifice the key parts, like your health at home, like the wellness of your family. That is private and no one sees that, and no one's gonna clap hands for you because you had a conversation with your husband and you are fine, because no one sees that. But people do see what you do at work. And then we end up sacrificing the critical and private values because of the public.
So you've really unpacked this thing, and it's making me feel a bit more calm, because I'm at that place where I feel like, like these balls, all of them, demand my attention. And I have a son who's like 15 months old now.
Is it?
Energetic. And he requires my time. Work also requires my time. My husband as well, so I'm at that place where I feel like I can't keep up, and to your point that I just need to be kind to myself, and sometimes just take time.
Sometimes, that's how I was saying, sometimes our pursuit for success is what kills us. Now, those who know me, they know that I go for it. I'm a girl who wants to go and achieve this, that, and the other. But I've learned that it should never come at the gross expense of what's really important. If needs be, let me pause on the pace. Okay, let me reduce my pace on this area so I can focus on that area. So that you don't have a great outcome on one area and death on everything else. So it's almost like and I'm learning that balancing out. I'm a go-getter. I'm a girl who gets I start things all the time. I'm here and then I'm there. But is that not coming at the expense of the other important things? So I need to forgive myself for reducing the side in order to bring life to the other side.
100%. So talking about you being a go-getter, Jay, Faith, you have just hosted a TEDx talk, right, guys? Like, Faith is a dynamite, and I attended that TEDx talk. It was brilliant, and I believe it will be airing soon. Just look out for it on YouTube. So can you just take us through, the whole process? What ignited, that aspiration to bring TEDx, and, the whole process around it, and what you're trying to achieve through it?
So there's a prevalent narrative around Africa being an emerging economy. So remember how we started the conversation around leadership is raising your hand to get involved?
Yes.
This narrative is prevalent not only in Africa, but actually it's more prevalent in the other continents. Everyone else is pointing to Africa and converging towards Africa because Africa is an emerging economy. So I think for me, then I said, wait, hold on. Do we know this? As Africans, do we understand this? Do we know how to leverage off this? Yeah. It's almost like there's a wave of prosperity that's coming, and everyone else sees it. And my key question was, do we as young Africans especially, do we as young Africans understand what this is? Do we know how to actively participate? Do we know how to meaningfully contribute to it? Then I started reading, then I started consulting, then I started asking questions, and I realized that we've got an opportunity to unpack this topic, so that we place ourselves in a position where we can also meaningfully contribute. So that's where it comes from. And then I said, all right, how can I create this conversation? Where can I go? How can I? And I'm so grateful that TEDx was very welcome, to us to host these conversations through the TEDx brand. So that's how it starts. And once again, it starts from a place of purpose, because TEDx for me is a channel through which you deliver the message. But the message is that how can we understand this? How can we meaningfully contribute to it? And how can we be part of the people that are extracting value from the Africa that other continents are converging towards? Yeah.
So it's another,
it's another podcast.
Yeah, it's another podcast on its own. Yeah. So and if you really want to learn about opportunities that are out there, for Africans, because I've heard a lot of people saying the African youth, we are sleeping, we are fast asleep. So we need to go out there, seek information. Now we are in the digital age, and there's information everywhere. There's Wi-Fi everywhere. So let's use these resources to educate ourselves and see how we can participate in this wave that is coming. So thank you so much for sharing on the TEDx. Hopefully you'll be hosting more soon.
Yes, definitely.
Yes, and we'll definitely be there, to learn. So in closing, Faith, what are the key things that you would like to, leave with our audience on this podcast, mainly linked to your purpose? And while we are there, if you don't mind,
sure.
We know you are a go-getter, and you are getting that strength from somewhere. If you don't mind, just sharing your morning routine, how do you make sure you get through things, in the day?
Maybe let me start with that one.
Yeah.
So we do know you're a spirit, you have a soul, and you live in a body.
Yes.
For me, I always am deliberate to allocate time to those things.
Okay.
So I have to have an hour. So we've got 16 hours a week if you sleep 8 hours.
Yes.
You've got 16 hours a week. And in those 16 hours, you must allocate time to your spirit. So I think for those who pray, they must just set an hour. In this 16 hours that we have, just set an hour to feed your soul, your spirit.
Yes, yeah.
So other people meditate, other people pray, etc. I personally pray. Yeah. So I think it's very important for me because that's where I get my energy, my strength. Right? Yeah. So number one, I must have an hour for my spirit. I must have an hour for my soul.
Okay.
What does that mean? Those personal developments, because that's the mind and the heart. Those wellness. Yes. Am I well? Am I fine? What other information I'm learning about? So the mind and the heart. So number two, I must have an hour for the soul. So I must read a book, or I must meditate. Just connect to my mind and my heart. That's the soul. Number three, I have to give an hour to my body.
Okay.
Whether I'm gymming or I'm jogging or I'm doing exercise. Come on, these apps now. There's these apps that help us with different exercises.
Yes.
Of the 16 hours that you have in the day, please, for me, I always say, I have to have 3 hours
Yeah.
for myself.
Yeah.
Otherwise, every urgent thing is going to come and grab time.
Yeah.
That such that you're going to end up in that 16 hours, you have used a good 90% of it doing work.
Sure. And that speaks to wellness again.
And you haven't managed your body.
Yeah.
You haven't managed your wellness. You haven't managed your spirit. So I'm just trying to say, for me, I always say, of the 16 hours awake, at least can I have an hour for my spirit?
Yeah.
Can I have an hour for my soul? And can I have an hour for my body? Then y'all can squabble.
Yeah, with the rest of it.
So to close, maybe let me leave these two things. Number one, you owe yourself the attention that you give to the world. You owe yourself effort that you give to everyone else. So please pay attention to yourself. Nothing valuable will come from you if you are not well. So I think make sure that you, as much as you're paying attention to everything else, pay attention to your personal development, your awareness, your exposure to things. Develop yourself so that your output can also be sharper. Number two, maybe if I toggle back to the African narrative, we are sleeping on gold.
Sure.
Pun intended. We are sleeping. We as young Africans, we've got a big economic outburst lying ahead.
Yeah.
And I really want us in the different industries that we are in, because I mean, there's an expression of this Africa emerging, even for whatever industry you're in.
Yeah.
And the question becomes, how do you become more aware? To say, how do I meaningfully participate in this as a young African? The World Bank estimates that in the next 15 to 20 years, that's where Africa is going to be at the peak in terms of profitability output.
Okay.
So the question becomes, how do you understand and discover, whether you're in banking, whether you're in media, whether you're in finance, you're in accounting, what does it mean for your industry, and how can you meaningfully participate?
Wow. No, that's powerful. So I guess you heard it. We are sleeping on gold. So wake up and do something. And I think whatever you do, just start, and everything will unfold as you move along. Yeah. So thank you so much, Faith. I really enjoyed